All right, get your coffee cups. We're gonna go on a journey, because what I'm finna do, oh boy, we gotta talk about it. It's right here, it's right now. It is Capcom Pro Tour, the finals, Capcom Cup 12, held in Japan. They are going to try a pay-per-view model in order to get people to watch the finals. This has gotten a lot of people in disarray. A lot of people are upset. They don't like it. I'm gonna be upfront and honest with you. I don't like it either. Let me put that out there real fast. This is not any kind of like super duper rage bait video or anything of that nature. It's just, I don't agree with it, right? So don't take me out of context. Now, I did do my own set of research and did a lot of digging and all that to learn a little bit more about this, because I say this a lot, but if you don't know this about me, I was a marketing lead at one point in my career and in the working world, if you will. And I learned a lot of things in that time frame. And if there's anything that I've learned, is that there's definitely good business and bad business. So you're gonna learn a little bit about this from a marketer's perspective, because most people are just giving their insight on it as just like how they personally feel and not digging deeper into the actual business side of things. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna super duper deep dive into it, but I'm gonna try to give you guys some of like the bullet points that I discovered while researching this. Like, it was just yesterday, did a lot of research on this to understand the logic behind it. And I believe it was High Fight that kind of helped in this. He retweeted something here, right, that really got me. And I'm gonna switch over to this scene so you guys can see it. We can talk about it real quick. Boom. All right, so this right here, this is probably the reason I see most from people who understand why Capcom is going pay-per-view. The esports division loses roughly 6 to 7 million USD, every year based on Capcom's investment report. So they have to do something to offset the losses. Now, this right here is, a bit of the forecast for this, right? So even though Street Fighter 6 is selling well, the esports business has been posting a deficit of over 10 billion yen every year. Given that it's forecasting a deficit of 11 billion yen this fiscal year as well, I can understand the intent to recoup costs somewhere, right? So then they also offered this. This right here is what got me, right? This is the actual PDF that explains all of this. Me being someone in marketing, I decided to do a deep dive and take a look and to see what was going on. I did translate this document. I'm not gonna go that far and go through this whole document with you guys. That is not my goal here. That was way too much work yesterday, right? So what I'm gonna do is try to explain it to you guys from a different lens, right? Not from that far on. Because I think it's better to understand the root cause first, and then you can go and do whatever you want after that. But the initial thing is to be upset, which makes sense. So I'm not gonna knock anyone for being upset, just for the record, right? So in doing my research, I learned a lot about how their inner workings are. And simply put, most people would say, well, why wouldn't Capcom just use the skins? Why don't they make skins and make money off the skins? It worked in Street Fighter 5. Why does it not work here? So that's true. I don't think that's really that heavily up for debate. That is a fair assessment because it was successful for Street Fighter 5. True. 100% true. Now, I think this is where things take a turn. Because of how Street Fighter 6 was designed and how they do things, it does take them longer to make skins. What I've learned about Capcom and their division for things, each game, from what I'm gathering, has their own separate division, right? And in the report, essentially, Resident Evil, what was it? Resident Evil, Monster Hunter, as of recent times, go over here. Is it Resident Evil, Monster Hunter? Here, yeah. So the series development, powerful brands with cumulative sales. Resident Evil series, Monster Hunter is number 2, Street Fighter is actually number 3, Mega Man is number 4, interestingly enough, and number 5 is Devil May Cry. Now, if you keep these things in mind, there's other things to take note of, right? because I want you guys to understand where they're spending their money first before you attack CPT. It's easy to attack it, trust me. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this back up on screen for a second, because I think this needs to be discussed, right? Okay, so this is Tokyo Game Show. Now, I also want you guys to kind of keep this number in mind. There is, as of according to Google, I believe they have 3,700 plus people who work at Capcom right now. We're not going to include human resources and all other stuff. That's whatever, right? We'll just think about developers, right? So you could probably push aside maybe 200 or so 100 plus people as like HR, other facets of Capcom. But now we just stick to the dev side, which leaves us a good amount of people, right? Remember, their biggest titles: Resident Evil, Monster Hunter, and Street Fighter. That's like their top 3 currently. Now, I'm sure that the manpower between Pragmata, Onimusha, and Monster Hunter Stories 3, they probably have teams that are like about as big as maybe Resident Evil and Monster Hunter, maybe, right? So because they're getting these projects out and they're investing in these projects in particular, on top of these Monster Hunter, you know, this mobile game, these 2 mobile games, Survival Unit and Outlanders, I'm sure they might be pulling people away from this to work on this, and away from Biohazard to work on this. Maybe not all the team. I'm sure they're hiring more people to pick this up, right? So they're investing in these games, right? Meanwhile, the Street Fighter division is kind of like its own thing. So what research has shown me also is that like the games like the Capcom fighting collections and things like that have been pushing their fighting game division forward with income. They also have an initiative that I want you guys to pay attention to, because it's all going to start making sense when you understand their business model, right? And let me get that real quick. Yeah, here we go. So part of their business model is they intend to grow their operating income growth 10% each year, right? In addition, they have a stable release of new titles and growth of repeat titles, and they have further promotion of a style of game that they've been pushing, which is one content, multi-use, and they want to strengthen their global sales, right? So you're probably wondering, well, what do you mean by like one content, multi-use, right? So that's like the collections, the fighting game collections, the Mega Man collections. And this initiative has been happening since roughly 2018, when you go back, right? And so if we do Capcom games, 2017, look at what was here. Okay, maybe not this one, so it's 2018. I think it's 2018 when they started, the initiative started here, but keep in mind it started here with Resident Evil 7, right? And like their biggest releases were 7, Infinite, other things happening here, the Ace Attorney, Monster Hunter, etc, etc. But now here's where the initiative really kicks in. 2018. Look at the release. Big release. Monster Hunter World, Mega Man X Legacy Collection 1 and 2. Other big release, Mega Man 11. Another collection release, 30th anniversary, Beat 'em Up Bundle. See? And there was also, like, look at the collections: Mega Man, Street Fighter, Beat 'em Up. Now, I think Mega Man had a bigger budget, and I think what they chose to do with the budget was to make one Mega Man game and port the others. And then basically Monster Hunter World and Mega Man 11 were their biggest releases this year, 2018. Move further, 2019. Now look at the initiative push again. DMC5, Resident Evil 2, right? Big releases. Iceborne, right? While the Mega Man collections were still pushing, right? And if we look at the key things that were out here, what else came out? The Phoenix Wright Attorney, you know, the Ace Attorney trilogy also came out. The initiative is still pushing, by the way. So you're seeing where Capcom is investing their income. Now look at what happened here. Resident Evil 3, then the follow-up with the Resistance, and look what else came out. Zero ZX collection. And notice this is year after year after year after year. So I want you guys to understand where they're investing their income, right? The Mega Man Cross Dive, obviously the push for Championship Edition for that, right? Let's go 2021. Look what came out. Village, Monhun Rise, Monhun Stories 2, Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection. There's, oh, wait for a collection. Chronicles, Ace Attorney Chronicles, and Arcade Stadium. Don't worry. I know you're like, why are you doing this, Kensou? Trust me. Just follow along. Trust me, follow along. Okay. 2022. Fighting Collection, Arcade Stadium, Reverse, and then the update to RE8 Village, right? But notice fighting collections here, etc., right? So, and then the showcase for that year, right? The Rise update, Street Fighter 6 beta, CPT, etc. You know, 2022 was pretty much a big year, right? Right before Street Fighter 6. And now peep the year Street Fighter 6. Now watch the initiative at work again. Even harder. Exo Primal, Street Fighter 6, Cross Dive Offline, Monhun Now, Mega Man Battle Network, Legacy Collection, Resident Evil 4, obviously RE4, you know, VR, etc. So big year. 2023 is actually a big year. In fact, Capcom made buku money this year. So their initiative is at play. 2024, a little bit of a lighter year, but a new IP, Kunitsugami. Now, if you pay attention, they do have the rights to Okami again. Essentially, there is Okami stuff in this game. It's Okami kind of centric. They're pushing here. Dogma 2, Fighting Collection, Ace Attorney Trilogy, another Ace Attorney collection. So these are their 3 big releases with their collections. Okay. Now we're leading to 2025, this year. The only major release this year, well, there's 2 major releases. Fighting Collection 2, Monhun Wilds. Then I guess an update to this. Survival Unit, which is the one we just looked at earlier, right? Which is this. That's a mobile game, right? And then Pragmata. But a lot of these aren't coming out until 2026, right? So pretty much everything that's listed here is on this board, but none of these are coming out till next year. So Requiem, you know, this is February 27th. Pragmata, I don't think has a release date yet. Onimusha, I think is later in the year too. Just pretty much you have 4 titles coming out next year. 4 major releases next year with 2 mobile game updates, or two games for mobile, updates to Street Fighter, and then Monhun has like basically Street Fighter and Monhun have like updates, right? Now, obviously, once again, it's safe to say, these 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7 games take hella priority over Street Fighter. It's gonna make sense. Keep bearing with me. Now here's the kicker. Now here's where things get really interesting, right? All right. Now, part of Capcom's initiative with their company is this line in particular in the document was very interesting to me. Investment in human resources. They aim to increase development staff by approximately 100 or more every fiscal year. Let me read that off for you one more time in case you missed it. Investment in human resources with an aim to increase development staff by approximately 100 or more every fiscal year. Think about that. And think about the titles coming out. So, when you're getting upset about why don't I have skins? Where's my skins, Capcom? Biohazard, Pragmata, Onimusha, Monhun Stories, Monhun Outlands, Biohazard Survival Unit. There's your answer. They have an initiative that they're trying to keep going. Now, does that mean every new hire goes to these games? Probably not. Does that mean you're not getting skins? No, it's about priority and where the money's coming from. Now, I get it. Once again, this stems all the way back to, well, why don't they just make skins? They don't have the manpower to make the skins that you're looking for. The manpower is going into the new releases, or the major firepower most likely is going into the new releases. Now, I get it. Swinging back again. Kensou is not making sense. Why don't they make skins? They did it in Street Fighter V. Street Fighter V era did not have an initiative like this that they're pushing, with the goal to increase, I'm sure their goal to increase their staff was always a thing. That's a goal for every company. This is what I'm telling you guys from a marketing standpoint. Again, this is stuff that I did for a living. I got paid to do this. Like I said, I'm not gonna go through the reports. It's way too much. But the point is, their initiative is being pushed and it's working. There's one outlet that makes me wonder. There's an outlet that doesn't get factored in here. The skins are one thing. Now I want you guys to know this, to learn this about Capcom as well. In case you didn't know this, right? Capcom actually has stores in Japan. Now, according to their report, it seems like their stores are doing well. And the yearly sales of the existing stores is 110%, which means they're doing 10% more than what it seems like they're doing, better than expected. And their ending fiscal year plan for 2026 is to open 10 more stores, totaling up to 63 stores in response to the diversification of store formats. Does that make sense? They have, in layman's terms, their stores in Japan have been doing well, and they're looking to open 10 more stores, totaling up to 63 total in just that island alone. Now, where I would look at this as someone from marketing is like, well, it's very obvious. In case you didn't catch on to this now, let me explain this before I get into the stores. Each game, before anyone looks at it like, well, why doesn't Capcom use income from other areas? Because each division has their set of budgets, most likely, and their ROIs, most likely, definitely. And basically what their ROIs are, their expected ROIs, what they're looking to gain from everything, right? Their budget is already set, etc., etc. I know this is going over your head, but trust me, just listen. They're not going to pull money from Resident Evil to fund Street Fighter. They're not going to pull money from Monster Hunter to fund Street Fighter. Street Fighter needs to fund Street Fighter. Okay? Onimusha needs to fund Onimusha. That doesn't mean it's not shared profits within the company. That's not true. I'm sure that profit is shared somewhere in between, but like they can't pull from Onimusha's earnings to dump into Street Fighter, or Monster Hunter to dump into Street Fighter. Now, here's where the storefront comes into play. Because they have memorabilia from Street Fighter, from Resident Evil, Monhun, it makes me wonder, well, why not pull from the storefront? But then it gets trickier. If they pull from the storefront, then it might hurt the employees. It might hurt the employed. So I think here's where, if I had to choose where to pull any income from, it might be from the stores to help fund CPT. So like if they were to do like an initiative, right, or a marketing plan to, if you buy these memorabilia items, these all fund the CPT. So from a marketing standpoint, this would be a better initiative as opposed to like, all right guys, do pay-per-view. What I'm doing here with this is to explain to you guys from a marketing perspective that there's other avenues that they could touch in order to make the money to help CPT stay afloat. I think selling memorabilia essentially would be better than to try to enforce pay-per-view, right? Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, maybe the development cost to make said memorabilia might be expensive, but I think it's worth it. I think it might be worth the investment to gain the money back. And then there's the other thing to note, that Capcom's fiscal year ends in March of 2020. Well, it ends in March every following year. So this is why they do all of their big pushes at the end of the year. But here's where it begs the question for CPT. I can understand the first year having a short season, but why they didn't do CPT immediately afterwards made no sense to me from season 1 and have a year-round thing and still end in the same fashion. Like, you could have restructured it. But the issue is they keep trying to do everything around the anniversary of the game, that the seasons are too short, and I think they're losing income because of this. That's why I'm saying, like, Street Fighter 6 and its issues stem from their current marketing schema. Where do I think the 1 million prize pot has been coming from funding wise? Maybe they're investors. I think that one's too difficult to really tell. But if I had to put my bottom dollar on it, it's their investors. Because they're Lions a whole thing with Jessu being Japanese esports stuff. Like, there's a lot of things that come about for that, and I can't answer that. Now, part of me thought a few things about their marketing. I thought part of the issue here is that maybe Capcom's outsourcing their marketing for this, and this could be an issue, right? And it turns out that's not true. With research, I've learned that Capcom has an internal marketing team in Japan, and they also have a US initiative as well, and it is Capcom Media Ventures, which Capcom Media Ventures was started in 2019, so right before the pandemic, or pretty much right before the pandemic, right? And Capcom Media Ventures, they handle the NA side of things, and they clearly, from my understanding, the Japanese side for the marketing, and I want you to mind you that there's different ones. There's marketing for the games, so Resident Evil, yada yada yada, and then there's the esports. So they have, from what it seems like they have 3 types of marketing teams: regular games, Japanese esports, then American esports. Capcom also outsources as well for their marketing, but it seems like they outsourced their marketing from Japan, from my understanding, based on my research. Okay, so because of this, I was wondering, like, this doesn't make sense. Why would you guys go pay-per-view? Who thought this was a good idea? Is it the marketing team that thought this was a good idea? But then I thought to myself, wait, if it's the marketing team, then I think they would have done their market research and saw that the pay-per-view model doesn't work. So I thought it was outsourced marketing and they were just tone deaf, but it turns out it's internal. So it leads me to believe that they had it again. Follow me. It leads me to believe that they had a discussion to try to understand the pros and cons for the pay-per-view. Now, I think part of me believes, on the outside looking in, and it's very easy to say this, trust me, because I thought this as well too until I did my research. And I'm like, well, maybe they felt like they could make the income from Japan specifically. But then I did research, and a lot of Japanese players and people are not happy with this either. There's a lot of fans of Street Fighter 6 across the pond that don't like this either. So before someone's like, yo, Japan thinks this is okay, they do not. They do not. Stop for just a second. Wait a minute. Hold on. Hear me out. New information from Nakayama-san recently just came in about what's going on also, a little bit more in detail. So Nakayama-san goes on to say, I'm really torn over this rejected content number 5. The whole gang assemble vibe with last time's winner JP leading the pack is great. The dev team is a completely separate unit from the esports division, so we're only handling the main art and merch illustrations. There's more here in this thread that Nakayama-san says that's very interesting. Brian F goes on to say, doesn't it seem strange that the esports division and dev team seem so entirely disconnected? Perhaps different monetization strategies could have resulted with collaboration rather than just charging such a high price for streaming Capcom Cup. Now, I went through all the stuff talking about other things before we got to this point with this information. There's more here that persists that I really want to point out. Now, Nakayama-san says, it may sound strange, but it's true. Revenue targets and assigned tasks differ fundamentally by department. Even the development team was surprised by this announcement. At least Matsumoto and I were shocked at the venue. That being said, since this matter occurred within the same company, we are currently discussing it. We apologize for any concern this may have caused. So This right here kind of leans into things that I've mentioned previously in this video, which, you know, dev team is different from marketing team, and that's how this is. Now, it's pretty obvious, even if you work at a normal job, right? You know, there's levels to this essentially, right? You know, as a regular employee, you don't work side by side by the CEO, CFO, COO. You don't work, you might just work with your manager and your other coworkers, but people who are in power, who are above those, you're not really working next to them. And it just also goes to show, you know, in day-to-day life, it's like that, and just different divisions exist, you know. Now, I do kind of agree to some extent that it might seem a little alarming that the esports division and the fighting division, you know, the development side, they're not really working together, when it's not really too shocking, as you saw in the video, right? They have initiatives being put in place. Teams are definitely trying to get certain things done. So Nakayama-san and his team, they're only, you know, about working on certain aspects of the game, right? So there's other things that are said here too between this conversation with him and Brian F, right? Now, he also goes on to say, for example, the initiatives we implemented in the previous title, that was the proposal from the development team. It was tough but fun. So I'm assuming he's talking about Street Fighter V here, right? Since then, the organization has grown significantly. Capcom definitely has grown significantly since Street Fighter V, and various departments have been established, so probably was different back then, right? My main responsibilities now are improving the game content, enhancing the quality of merchandise and collaborations, and working on movies and video projects. I'll keep discussing ways to improve things, even just a little, with other departments. And we developers truly cherish every single person who plays our games. Thank you always. Which goes on, you know, I say this all the time. People get mad at developers, and it's like the people who make the games, they care about the people who are playing their games. It's very easy to say they don't care because insert reasons here that you feel personally about, but that's the purpose of this video, to show you guys that it's not feeling motivated. It's motivated by different factors, and there are a lot of different things at play when it comes to a company and its marketing tactics and marketing schema that, as you can see, clearly can differ from development side, etc. And there's just a plethora of things, but I wanted to bring this into this video. I know it makes it longer, but whatever. It's important you guys get this, and I don't want anyone to be tracing it back to me like, hey, they made this tweet, did you check this out? No, I did. I was aware, so that's why we're adding it here now. So with that being said, we're gonna cut back to it and we're gonna keep it going and finish up the rest of the video. Let's get it. From my understanding, they have no problem paying for SFL and watching SFL in person like that. But to pay for pay-per-view, that's the rip-off part, or rip-off part, the part that no one likes, whatever you want to say, whatever words you want to use. I said rip-off for some reason or another, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because I was reading something over here on the side. That aside, yeah, it just, no one likes it on any side of the world, period. So don't think that Japan is okay with it either. People are not happy with this. So the other part of me leads to think that maybe, from a marketing standpoint, this could be a way to gauge interest and try to figure things out before they truly sign off on it. They have time to rectify this, is my point. But I don't know, because I can't tell you. Even though I have the report, that's a report. And even then, the report also has just forecasting and not 100% accurate numbers, right? Or maybe the numbers are accurate, but I think the forecast is the part that's hard to say, because that's more of a prediction. Which in marketing, there does have to be predictions and stuff like that that you have to look at with terms of trends. But again, do your research on marketing. It's just a very weird decision to make based on these things, which is why I'm saying that you really need to look further and try to figure out another way to make income. And I literally think the way to do it is the memorabilia. I think that they can make buku bucks off of memorabilia and put it towards CPT and put it towards that funding, because right now they're operating at a loss, and I think that's the problem. That's the problem, which kind of sort of proves that to some degree esports can be a failing business. I think that they intended to make money, but maybe it's not doing as well as they thought. Well, it's not, maybe it's not. Like, they're reporting a net loss. So I think that they have to use other money. The whole point is they need to use other monetization tactics that's not pay-per-view. I literally think that you can sell a jury statue to make money to go towards this versus the latter. Like, I'm sure people would have no problem saying that, like, hey, you know, if you buy these things, they're going towards this. if people know where their money is going, it's a better deal. Now, of course, you'd have to make these things, like the development cost does need to, how do I put this? The supply and demand costs need to make sense. That's my point. Yeah, you could sell t-shirts, you could sell statues, you could sell hoodies, you know, you could sell anything. And you know what's very interesting too? I think Street Fighter 6, as of my research and looking at all of this, is that Street Fighter 6 is the most ambitious fighting game ever made. Out of all of my research, it is the most ambitious fighting game ever made. I think other games have been very ambitious too, but I think with their overall initiative within Capcom and what they were seeking to do, it is the most ambitious fighting game ever created. And I don't think anyone could refute that. They've done way more than they should have for this game. And they've set the standard really, really, really high. It's gonna be very difficult to top this for a lot of other fighting games. But the interesting part is that Capcom's having a difficult time sustaining it too. But specifically sustaining the esports side. Now again, going back to monetization things, they could easily do better with their battle passes. They could easily do better with their skin packs. They could release skins out. They could release skins a bit more quicker. If anything, it just seems to me like the shift of manpower and resources needs to be readjusted. So this is why I wanted to come at it from this perspective for you guys. So like again, it's easy to just say, I'm mad, Capcom, do better, without understanding what's happening inside the business. So it's just, in my opinion, the marketing decision. So I guess you could sum it up as like the marketing decisions need to be better, right? And those marketing decisions need to funnel into Capcom Pro Tour and the Capcom esports. That needs to happen. That's one. Two, their allocation of manpower needs to be readjusted, because what it really turns out to be is that, in essence, while Capcom as a company is doing great with their IPs, they might be releasing too much too quickly. That could be an issue. And I think this is the part that needs to be readjusted. They could take, I think that they don't want to spend too much time in the development phase of their games, so they try to get as many people as possible, which goes back to, again, they're looking to hire 100 people, per year, you know? But like, that's the part that really gets me, is like, what if they don't hire exactly 100 people in a year? Let's say they only get half of that. Where are these 50 people going? That's the issue. We don't know if they're HR. We don't know if they're dev. We don't know if they're regional sales. We don't know if they're global sales. We don't know the positions that are open. Now, granted, we could go on their website and kind of see. I'm gonna tell you right now, someone that works in marketing, they don't always update those things and say, oh, we don't have this opening anymore. They're gonna keep it open for people who want that position and maybe rotate people in and out, right? But again, I think this is an issue, and we won't know. That's why I think I always look at it from the business side to try to understand what's missing before I get upset. You know, I always try to look into these things. And I want you to know, this is not me caping for Capcom or anything like that. Yeah, I'm wearing a Capcom creator like hoodie or whatever, but that doesn't mean anything. It's like, I want you guys to know that it's more than just, I'm mad. Capcom do right. There's a reason for it. So I wanted to just bring this to y'all's attention. I know this was a bit of a deep dive, and this is still pretty light for you guys that don't do marketing, right? But just know that there's a reason for this. I don't want you guys to look at it as, yo, Capcom's some evil corporation, because going through their documents and seeing like their initiative, the goal of every company is to make money, obviously, but like the people who contribute to that are not evil people. They're not looking to just snatch your money or whatever. It's just people who care about making video games, you know? So talk to me below. Let me know how you're feeling. Do you even care about a lot of this? If you don't, it's cool. You can let me know in the comments below. If you find it interesting, let me know in the comments below. Either way, just talk to me in the comments below. Just let me know how you're feeling about it, and let's have a conversation. Again, I don't agree with it, but there's different ways that they can make this work. So talk to me, let me know. I'll catch you on the next one. Know the vibes. Deuces gooses.